Welcome, fellow maths nerds and teachers. I want to talk tonight about Mr. D's lesson on the substrand of fractions and decimals with his mixed Year 3-4 class. Excuse me. How did Mr. D use peer review? Well, initially he used groups of 4 identifying fractions on whiteboards together, then progressed to groups of 5 cooking their pizzas and determining fractions of ingredients like pepperoni, cheese, broccoli, probably not, and finally sharing their pizzas with the group, showing fractions on their whiteboards and assessing each other's responses. How has Mr. D used differentiation? It is unclear how differentiation was used, as it is not explicitly mentioned in the comments. However, a composite Year 3-4 class naturally lends itself to differentiation, and this was outlined in the content descriptors of Mr. D's lesson plan. Year 3 were modelling and representing fractions, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, and their multiples to complete a whole. The Year 4 students were to investigate equivalent fractions used in contexts like pizza making. Group work is a great opportunity to use differentiation. It typically requires an organised, non-chaotic environment to succeed, as Van Tassel-Basker said in 2005. It sounded like the pizza lesson, although fun and engaging, spent most of Mr. D's energy and time on classroom management and trying desperately to complete all of his planned activities, which he identified later as probably a little ambitious. Mr. D identified differentiation in his next lesson with plans for sequence 3, and it was to account for those who have not completely grasped the lesson to use counters to show fractional parts of the whole and then sketch their pizzas on whiteboards. And for those who understood, he wants to challenge them further with toppings, more toppings, and writing fractional parts of the whole. If I reflect on the readings from week 2 and apply them to Mr. D's lesson, I would suggest a more formative approach be undertaken prior to embarking on a bold set of activities like the pizza lesson. Following the phases of assessment, Mr. D could have used his Sequence 1 lesson to plan his Sequence 2 lesson better. By gathering the data in Sequence 1 and interpreting the data, he could use this to his advantage to inform him of his future lesson plans. And instead of the inconsistent groups of 4 and then changing to 5 mid-lesson, Mr. D could differentiate groups into 3 types, using the rubric of Group 1, those that do not understand the concept or process, Group 2, those developing an understanding, and third, those who are applying and communicating already. These would then assist Mr. D to assess performance indicators of individuals in these groups and allow him to differentiate his teaching more effectively. It would also assist his assessment process by providing an opportunity to record progress more effectively. Recording could be on a checklist setup, which would allow him to quickly scan and ask questions of groups and individuals using observations as another assessment strategy. As a consolidating activity, students could write about their pizza experience within a rubric of performance indicators and identify themselves what they understand and what they require further explanation of. This would again assist Mr. D with Sequence 3 in his fractions and decimals teaching. All is not lost. The learnings or experiences the students take out of the pizza lesson can be taken forward and used to assist conceptual understandings further down the track. And at the very least, lunch was taken care of.